When was the last time that you were upset about maybe the weather? How about politics and the frustrations around that? And how about any other decision of a colleague that he or she made and didn't consult you? And when you were upset and when you were frustrated that people did bad and wrong things and that the weather was like it was, like a rainy holiday or so, then you could just go to bed being fully upset and then sleep worse and then being upset that you slept worse. Oh. The question is, what on earth should we be upset about? And how can we conceptualize that? So basically, there is a standard coaching model that we can look at if we want to understand frustration and also the feeling of being upset. And this is called the circle of influence. Well, because the moment where we can have an influence, we can make it happen that things are going to be the way we would like them to have, right? Now, depending on our level of influence, that might be the case or might not be the case. First, I want to show you the classical model of the circle of influence. And it begins with a first part where we have kind of direct control over things. Now, these are the things that I can directly control. If I want to have that water bottle stand over there, well, I can control that. I just walk it over and I make it happen that it stands over there. So control is the first thing. And whenever we have control, we are happy that things are going to be, once we do it, exactly as we like it. Well, then there is another level. That is the influence. Now, there are situations where I need to convince a colleague that he or she does things. Maybe I want to have this video edited and I have no idea how to edit that video. So I can call a colleague of mine, and in a kind of one-on-one influencing situations, I can exert my influence in making sure that he or she is making it happen, that we get that video edited. If I want to have them organize their desk, well, this is something where I can go in and I can convince them to tidy up their desk. They will tidy up the desk like they think it should be. So I don't have a direct control over it. And I can exert my influence in order to optimize that. But, well, this is not a perfect lever, is it? And then in that model of the circle of influence, there is a final one. There are basically the things that we are concerned about. And these are the things like politics, like weather, like all the things that we cannot really change, that we are affected by. We are concerned. Well, it has an effect on us, but we would have no lever on how to change it whatsoever. This model is already quite helpful, but it is a little bit too undifferentiated to exactly have a look, because it puts a few things in a bucket that should not be in a bucket. And that's why we, based on that, developed the circle of impact that will help you as a leader to structure the question on where am I? And leader is here basically as a very wide range. You can use it also self-reflectively and realizing, should I be upset about something or not? And what could I do or not? So in any situation where you want to exert leadership, which means you have an ambition to change the world in the widest sense, this circle of impact can be the thing that will help you a lot in order to figure out what to do. So let's have a look at the circle of impact. And the circle of impact starts in the beginning with a first segment of direct influence. This is a water bottle example, right? If I want to have the water bottle over there, I just go and bring the water bottle over there. This is not too crazy, right? Well, we also add in an area with no influence. Well, the tides at sea, the weather, the sunlight, there's so many things, gravity. Well, you can like it or not. If you stumble and fall, you might hate gravity. But then again, there is no influence that you can exert. You just have it and happen. There you go. Well, there are also some levels in between. And it's just not one level as in the other model. It's actually two levels. The first one we also know, which we call the indirect influence. And this is, again, the example of I want to influence somebody. If I want to influence my landlord here that she should change something, I need to go into communication. I have a one-on-one influencing situation. And over that one stop with that landlord, I can indirectly make sure that I make things happen. This is also the case where if I want to convince my wife that we do things, and I just need to convince her. And once that I convinced her, we are good to go and that we are up and running. So this is also the part where we need some influencing skills, some communication skills, some persuasion skills, and they will bring us a long way. However, if we have another level, if we have not only one person, if we have many people, then this becomes much more complicated. It brings us in the realm of emergent influence. So to emerge is if something is popping up, is generated out of the dynamic, something's happening. And we see the phenomenon of big emergencies. For example, you have a stadium with a mass panic. This is an emergent phenomenon, as sociology calls it, where through the individual behavior and coordination, a panic emerges, where you cannot say who started it, because it doesn't take only one person to start a panic. It needs one person to start it, a few others to react on it, and a few more to react on that. So it's a collaborative endeavor, so to say. Now, let's imagine you are in a tennis club or any kind of club, and you are in the board, and there's 5 people in the board. And those 5 people in the board also ask the question, what will the members say? And maybe there's another group of, in the tennis club, of the tennis teachers being together in a group, and they are also having influence. And now you want to make a change happen. Now you need to influence the emergence of an opinion from the tennis trainer group. You need to have the backing of the members of the association. You need to also have the backing of the rest of the board that you are serving at. So this is emergent influence. You are in a setting with a high group dynamics, with tipping point phenomena, with many, many interesting, sometimes exponential growing dynamics of being for it or being against it. Handling that kind of influencer situation is something completely different compared to a one-on-one influence scenario. Specifically in organizations, many, many leaders do only apply one-on-one influence and just hope that things are going to go well at the emergent level. An emergent level is not equal to emergent level. There could be kind of an emergent level down here where you have a group of 4 or 5 people with the beginning group dynamics. There can be like the tennis club where specific boards that you need to convince and members. It can be a societal thing where also now the role of the media is popping in, and where you have hundreds of people making decisions together, forming opinions together. And then the emergent influence can become quite tricky and can really be an expert's skill to master. So on large-scale social system, the influence is getting more and more emergent, and you're getting closer and closer to the level of no influence, aka it's getting harder and harder to exert the influence all the time. Now, what you see here is now there's not a full circle, and we won't fully make the circle full, but we're going to do it a bit. We add 3 other levels in here, and those 3 levels, we see here the area of incompetence. Well, there are things you can do and you know that you can do them, but there are also things that you cannot do. And incompetence, don't understand it as a judging. It's not meant as a judgment, it's meant descriptively. So I am not playing any piano. I know that I'm incompetent in playing piano. And if I just learned it, I probably could play it, right? However, I like the idea of being able to play piano. I hate the idea of learning to play piano. So this is a segment of the area of incompetence where we are not able or not good enough yet to really exert the influence. For example, take the direct influence, and there the area of incompetence. There are sometimes people that are very, very difficult to exert influence on. Maybe they are having their very own distinct way of doing things. Is that because they just cannot be influenced? Or is that because you didn't master the skill fully enough? And that's why you couldn't influence them. Well, that is a very important question to ask. And it brings us to the distinction between both of them. There are things in the area of incompetence that where we know that we could do it. Like my piano playing is in that level where I go like, well, I knew that I could do it, right? It's kind of a skill that is undeveloped. I could sit down and I could learn piano. I actually had piano lessons when I was a little kid, just hated it. But I could do it. I could learn piano. It wouldn't be a grandmaster, but would be probably good enough, right? And there are maybe things that are hidden incompetences where you don't even feel and don't even think that there might be something possible to actually develop. So this is where we have wrong assumptions about the world. We go in like, this cannot be done. And that could typically happen in emergent influence, where we just go like, well, I tried it, it didn't work, it cannot be done. And that then becomes a real problem. We see it in leaders in larger organizations all the time. They have used their direct influence tool set in order to influence groups, and then the group dynamic emerged and they could just handle it, and everything just got an own dynamic and went in one direction that they didn't anticipate and that didn't even want. And then they come ahead and go like, well, this is just not possible. I once had a top manager going like, well, in my leadership position, I can just make the kind of some boundaries at the side of the roads, and within that, the people do whatever they want and I don't have any influence. And that is a typical setting where the incompetence is now in the hidden level. You exerted wrong emergent influence, you didn't know how to do it right, you saw that it didn't work, and you put it into the no influence level. So you made a misattribution here. And you have that now as a hidden incompetence. You don't even know that it's something that you could develop to get it actually right. So whether you look at this model from own personal development perspective, like what are my undeveloped areas that I know that I could develop? What are the areas where I could spar with a coach to see, could I actually be doing that? By reflecting on, did somebody else do it so far and how did they do it? By also looking in competence lists and see, well, is there competence that I didn't have on my agenda that I was just missing? Here we talk about personal development, here we talk about skill trainings and many, many other things. Or whether you use it in the business context, the leadership context, go ahead like, how can I increase my emergent influence? Well, there are people, there are organizations that have full teams to influence government decisions. It's just that you maybe don't know how to do it and maybe decided it's not worth doing it, right? But there are organizations who do it impressively successfully. So it's an undeveloped area of incompetence, not a hidden one. And if that's the case, you implicitly make the decision not to exert the influence. So maybe we rather shouldn't complain. All the negative energy of complaining, of being frustrated, is wasted life energy that you could put in something productive. Frustration means you have an ambition that is disappointed so far, and maybe you just need to develop some new skills that are in the level of incompetence yet, to bring them out into the level of competence, to make sure that you have more influence in the future. And with that more influence in the future, you can be more successful and more impactful.